Hi, everybody. Well, if you are watching this from the east side, Gresham, areas east of 205, I haven't been out there and I haven't seen good eyes on it, but I'm assuming you at least have noticed some more glazing of ice on things because it's been right around 30 degrees on average in that Gresham, Troutdale, East County area, going all the way back to mid-morning with fairly solid precipitation. I haven't heard reports out of there, so I'm not sure if things have really significantly gotten icier or not. Keep in mind when we had our ice storm that came through, temperatures were down into the 20s, and that's really what you want if you want big time ice. You want temperatures to be anywhere from well, as cold as can be, but certainly no warmer than 28 or 29 degrees. When you get 30 to warmer, you just don't get that much accumulation on surfaces that tend to hold some warmth, like roadways. And even any icing on trees tends to be kind of light. Now, with that said, there is a freezing rain concern the remainder of today into tonight. This is from the National Weather Service. Uh, Putting out on the right is this map, and let's just read what it says. Probability of just a tad bit of icing, less than a tenth of an inch, more than a trace. 50% in the entire metro area. This is basically the area that's under a winter weather advisory um, for possible freezing rain into tonight. It does not include Salem, I should say. And then that's basically what they've been saying. Freezing rain could return to portions of the area. Uncertainty remains the potential for ice accumulations west of the Columbia River Gorge. Again, it's been mainly a concern so far today on the east side, what I like to say east of 205. Here is the warning map from our friends of the National Weather Service. Again, this white area, which is Canby up through Battleground, and then out through Washington County and parts of the Coast Range, advisory for freezing rain into tonight. Eventually tonight, it looks like the moisture is going to pretty much end. Now, where I circled it, they since updated this map since I made this graphic. This western portion of the gorge is under an ice storm warning, where freezing rain of temperatures in the 20s has been ongoing today. And then the winter storm warning is in play through tonight for Hood River, the upper Hood River Valley, areas of purple, into the Dalles, much of Wasco County for 5 to 10 inches of snow. Again, nothing down here in the Mid Valley in terms of weather advisories or watches or anything like that. So, what time is it? It's okay. These are the 3:30 temperatures at 3:30 this afternoon. That's why I asked what time it was. Let's look at the map. So let's start with Sandy, 31. And we know it's widespread precipitation. That's light freezing rain. Gresham, 29. Been freezing rain out here, as I mentioned, going all the way back to mid-morning. Troutdale right here, 32 degrees, light freezing rain, east wind at 24. It's east winds that picked up early this morning after calming yesterday. Once they picked up early this morning, they pulled cold air back into the gorge. But with temperatures holding around 32 in Troutdale, that's probably no heavy icing, just some light icing accumulations. And then when you get into downtown Portland, at times earlier this morning, we had slipped to 33, but we've since warmed up to around 36. So it's mostly just slushy. Here's a 32-degree spot over in Beaverton. So there is some cooler weather that's advected over the West Hills thanks to the east wind pull. Hillsboro just above freezing. Again, if you're 33, 34, you're just having rain and it's slushy and you're still seeing some thawing. And then temperatures were in the 40s earlier this morning down in Salem. So that's interesting. They have a north wind, but they have cooled down to 37 degrees. That's mostly cooling, I think, with the north breeze and the precipitation that's been falling. So real quick, if you subscribe to my, if you get my Facebook feed or on KGW Media in general, when I was working this morning, in the 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock hour, we started to see the east winds pick up out of the gorge. And we saw temperatures like in Happy Valley in a period of 2 hours go from around 36 or 37 to 29. We saw Gresham go from 35 to 29. It was a fairly rapid 2 hour decline in temperatures. Portland went from 36 down to 34, I think it was. And so I sounded the alarm saying, this is cold air that's coming in quickly. We're not sure if it spreads into the downtown Portland area or out into Washington County, but it might. And so if you can cancel your plans and get yourself home, it's probably best to do so. Well, now fast forward, we're coming up on the 4 o'clock hour, and you could say that I overreacted, but I will tell you at the time, all the temperature guidance that we see as forecasters were coming in, and guidance that was showing mid 30s this afternoon was showing Portland at 30, 31. Now we know that guidance is not at least spot on to the hour. We could still get down to freezing this evening. That's still a possibility. And it's probably a 50-50 chance. But if you've lived here for a while, you know we've had a handful of storms over the years that people left their homes in the morning, and then at noon things got bad, and then all of a sudden people couldn't get home and it was a mess. So I'm never going to feel bad about seeing something develop early in the morning a little differently than I thought. And when I realized there's at least a risk of things getting bad, which is what I realized this morning, of saying, hey, sounding the alarm and let's get home. Now it's looking more and more like we're probably going to get through this without anything too bad. Keep in mind, we could still get down to freezing tonight, but there are no signs we're really going to get into any really bad icing. I think the big deal if we get to freezing tonight, simply that's going to refreeze the slush and make it that much icier for folks getting out tomorrow morning. Here's one of the, this is the National Blended Model forecast for how much accumulative freezing rain could fall. This was from this morning into early tomorrow morning. And it does show in the Portland metro area and Clark County, basically a trace about 1/10 of an inch of ice. And I think especially in East County where we're likely seeing this, it's probably not going to be widespread. And if we get down to freezing tonight and there's still some precipitation, we'll have a trace of freezing rain. Here's the model that's probably not going to be right. This is probably way overdone. This is the North America model. And that's showing 3/10 to a half of an inch of ice, mainly 3/10 of an inch of ice around the Portland metro area. I don't see that happening because even if we get down to freezing early this evening, the moisture is going to be winding down. So by that time, there wouldn't be much availability. But it is this North America model. Remember, I started to talk about this yesterday. That I was seeing a cold layer in the level in the atmosphere with the cold with the east winds blowing in the gorge, and that the temperature profile suggested there would be rain falling into freezing temperatures, and that would be freezing rain. So that temperature profile has been correct, except for the fact that the ground hasn't really gotten cold. The low level boundary temperatures at the surface are generally holding above freezing in the heart of the Portland metro area. Again, I'm going to show you a map in a second, but that might change. So what is going on? Well, here's all the moisture that's been thrown our way. It's been steady rain all the way through the daytime hours. If you follow my mouse, though, see where there's some ridging right here? In fact, we're getting right into this ridging axis. So it looks like the moisture is going to fizzle out, start breaking up this evening. And while there could be a shower overnight, and while there could be a shower or two around tomorrow, for the most part, we're going to get into some fairly dry weather. The northern part of this system stays up to our north. This digs in and comes into Northern California over the weekend, and then starts to increase the shower chance coming up from our south Saturday afternoon. That builds into a pretty wet Sunday for us. But as this comes into Northern California and really dictates more of a southern flow overall, I think that's really going to ignite some decent warming. Remember, we've had these east wind pulls because we've had lows approach up in here, approach toward the mouth of the Columbia. That's pulled the winds, the east gorge winds. So if this low goes down and comes up through here, that's going to have a chance to actually bring some warm air advection from the south. And we think that is exactly what we're looking at dealing with. So let's check some conditions real quick, and then we'll get into some more forecast information. We have the winter storm warning for the Hood River and out into the Dalles. Light snow 23 in Hood River, 23 in the Dalles. Very snowy in Cascade Locks as well. It's been mostly snow there, 25. They reopened 84 today, if you hadn't heard, but look how, and it's still open, but look how snow covered and dangerous that appears to be. Cathedral Ridge Winery, again, there's Cascade Locks. Here's some other There's beautiful Stevenson, Washington with snow on the ground. So that's a look out in the Columbia River Gorge at this hour. I do want to point out, if you're traveling to the coast, tomorrow is Friday. So if you're going over the Coast Range, it's been warm at the beach itself. 49 Lincoln City, no problems there, no problems of any temperatures. A couple of live cameras, including Channel House. We go down here, and I'm just going to click on the Sunset Highway camera. 35 degrees, that's at 1,400 feet. So the Coast Range right now is looking like, it's okay. Obviously, there could be some freezing temperatures in the mountains overnight tonight with some icy spots, but generally that's been okay. Okay, let's check out and see what the temperatures are doing. Again, we've been watching cold air blow out of the gorge, bringing colder air into the valley and lowering temperatures. So far, that's mainly happened east of 205. Now, one thing to note, here's a temperature projection. Notice 25 in the Dalles. Just a day or two ago, especially 2 days ago, it would have been in the teens at this time. So even our cold air pockets that we're drawing off of are starting to moderate, and that matters. That limits the amount that we could become cold in the valley simply from east winds. When the east winds was were blowing off temperatures in the single digits in 12 and 15. That was a much colder airflow in the valley. So that airflow itself is not as bad. Now, this is correct in that 4 o'clock. It shows we're kind of low to mid 30s around Portland, around 40 down Salem. We know that's correct because we just looked at the temperatures. So let's just play this through. Here's 10 o'clock tonight. Notice not much change, 33, 34, 35. Clearly, there's a risk for some freezing temperatures, but I don't see a hard freeze tonight. It's looking more and more like if we see freezing temps in the heart of the Portland area, or maybe over to Beaverton or down into Tigard, for example, it's going to be what I would say is a light freeze, only around 31, 32, or 30 at the coldest. And that's a big difference than, dipping well down to the 20s. So here is tomorrow morning, and it's basically keeping us 34 degrees, 33, 34, still freezing out in the gorge. And then we'll go into tomorrow afternoon. I do like our chances of hitting 40 tomorrow because the forecast is drying out and this air is trying to moderate. So we'll see if we can hit 40. This shows upper 30s to about 40 degrees. And then Saturday is kind of a similar pattern. But as I play this into Sunday, I want to see what this model is showing. Because Sunday, I think we're going to be noticeably warmer. Yeah, look at that. 48 in Salem, 47 up in Woodburn, mid 40s in the Portland area. So there's the firm beginning of a much, much warmer airflow that we're coming to. This shows you it's meant to look like a radar. It's a blended model showing precip. And again, just coming up in the next hour or so, you can see there's some drying coming up to Eugene and Corvallis. I think in reality, there's some light precip down here. So I don't think it's going to be a sharp, just cut off of wet versus dry. But you can clearly see this evening, 7 p.m., the heavier moisture has now moved north and east, and we're at least getting into really light, kind of drippier, misty precip. And as we go into tomorrow morning, again, the chance of some light or misty precip, but we could be dry. I mean, tomorrow looks like we either get traces of rain or we just stay dry. Look at that. The moisture is all up to our north as we go into the afternoon hours on Friday. So that'll be a nice break, and that will help us get a little bit warmer. So with the moisture drying up overnight tonight, not much moisture around tomorrow, not much moisture around Saturday morning, and then a warming temperature forecast for Saturday being in the 40s, and overnight Saturday night maybe holding close to 40, and then Sunday 46, you would say that this threat of freezing rain that we have going on right now into this evening is kind of the finale. I don't see any further threat for the reasons I just mentioned. Here is this is the European model, just looking at the air mass temperatures of 5,000 feet. Here's the cold Arctic air. This was yesterday. Let's go ahead and update this and play this into this afternoon. Here we are. You can see the Arctic air down into the Nebraska, the Dakotas, and Montana. Here's the Arctic air still really in place into the Ohio Valley on Friday. Saturday, still over the Carolinas and Virginia, but you see it's moving out. And then by the first of next week, that's what's left. It's pushed off of the East Coast. Still some cold pockets up to our north, but see how we're warming over here in the Pacific Northwest going into the first of next week. Now you got big time warmth up in the Great Lakes and up in Canada building into Tuesday. We're going to be warmer as well. This shows a little bit of a cool down the back half of the week. That could be due to a temperature inversion and some cold nights that maybe get trapped in fog, but mostly some cold nights with some dry weather coming in. But now this is Saturday, the 27th. We're warm. And basically the models, look at this. This is going into February 1st. Well, here's February 1st right here. Excuse me, this is the 31st of January. That's really warm stuff. Then there's a little push of some Pacific moisture coming in. It looks like with some cooler air going into February 1, but that kind of holds off. Here's some colder air again, February 4th, 5th. Looks like that comes down, but that's not as cold as the air mass that we just saw. And then there's some warmth returning around February 8th. So overall, I would say our February is looking normal to a little bit above normal in the temperature department, at least thus far. This is the way it looks if you look at 18,000 feet and you put the steering upper level contours on. So here we are this afternoon. Remember I showed you the ridging taking place on the satellite picture? Well, there it is. And then here is moisture picking up on Saturday during the day, Saturday afternoon, moisture picking up. Sunday morning, a rainy Sunday is what it looks like to me. And then we still got some rain on Monday and some shower chances into the mid part of next week. Here's Tuesday. There's a storm coming in Wednesday right there. Okay. And then some drying and some warmth maybe into that weekend. Here's Friday, the 26th. Here comes Saturday, the 27th. So that's warming, right? I mean, here's the cold air, the blue contour, the polar jet way up to our north again. So all kinds of signs that, in fact, this freezing rain threat, the remainder of today into tonight, is really it for us. for the foreseeable future. So my 7-day forecast, becoming mostly dry to just traces of light rain tonight. Certainly the potential of freezing temperatures, all those we saw, some of the guidance holds us just above freezing. That could happen too. So it's probably going to be a mixed bag. But then we warm up tomorrow to 40 because we're going to have some dry time. And I think the air mass will support that. Fairly dry Friday night will allow freezing temps again, and then showers pick up during the day on Saturday. And then could we really wake up to 40 degrees and rain on Sunday with a day that goes to 46? If so, that's the big warm up right there. Sunday looks like it's a rainy day. The modeling is showing about a half of an inch of moisture. And then still pretty decent rainy day on Monday, a little drier on Tuesday, more rain on Wednesday. But now this is all warm air. This rain on Wednesday is with a convincing warm front that's going to easily push us into the 50s on Thursday. I need to update this. That low temperature on Thursday is not correct. That should be more like 43. So 52 Wednesday, 43 Thursday morning, 54 in the afternoon, and still pretty warm on that following Friday. Okay. Well, that is your update. I hope that made sense, that we're either going to see some light freezing tonight or nothing at all. And the iciest place to really be aware is if you're going to be traveling out east of 205 and the Gresham, Troutdale, Fairview, maybe in the Camas and Washougal areas as well. Thanks for subscribing to my YouTube channel. My weather site's portlandweather.com. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill, and I'll talk to you soon.